rehashed second-hand information from an originally wrong source. Right? I went to writing my LLB at the top, and I saw that being rehashed. Actually, the mistake comes from the Corruption Watch document when they were vetting candidates for the public protector role. But they listed me as having an LLB from UNISA. So much for vetting, huh? So, and I see it, and then of course journalists across the board just passed it off as fact. I mean, it may seem trivial, but it shows that we need to be careful what we read. Because then your CV is widely available, right? And then it's widely distributed wrongly. So that's a cause for concern. This is beautiful. I mean, this is my second ASRI event. Salam, how do you say it? No. Salam. And then the response is I'm getting there. I just landed this morning from Gabon at 4:30, 5 a.m. So, and I was in the presence of many wonderful Muslims, including people from Gabon, people from Senegal, Burundi, people in the region. And we were talking about all manner of things. One thing I want to say, Mohammed, you have indicated that these people, these wonderful people who are not, by the way, they are not future leaders. They are already leaders. We just have to take it to the next level. I mean, this was so impressive. Every speaker, one after the other, so flamboyant, and interesting, you know, and it's a good thing. And you don't get a sense that there's a loss of the respect of the fundamental values of Islam, which are respect for the fellow man and woman, which are generosity and kindness, fairness. All that is still here. But you're still cool. You're still dope. So as I say, it's lit. So ASRI is a very cool place to be, I must say. But why I'm saying this, why I'm mentioning as well the fact that I just came back, you know, I'm not name dropping to say, hey, you know, I was somewhere. I think we need to take it outside as well. Next fellows must also, I believe, get a chance to meet other excellent Muslim intellectuals consider other countries. I mean, talk to DELCO, talk to the Department of International Relations. Because we are deliberately, as public protect, a pro-African institution. Where we really, and of course, you could go international. I've met wonderful people writing from Jordan, from Qatar, from the US, from wherever, who can share these wonderful experiences. So I think, that's just a suggestion to say, you might want to consider the options as well, in terms of as the fellowship grows. Already you're doing a wonderful thing in terms of taking the fellows out to various departments and so forth and so on. So as I said, these are really future leaders, and it's really time for them to take their place in society. I've got a written speech, but I'm not going to read it to you, because after all the interesting stuff that has been out there, I don't want to put people to sleep. You know, it's really something that I just want to first and foremost congratulate, as I said, the Future Leaders Fellows. You are living in a very interesting time when one hand, you're seeing youth who are like the ones who have just come here, who are bright, innovative, who are creative, who are still staying true to their religious values. On the other hand, you've got people, just 2 weeks ago, I addressed hooligans at the other campus. So, all is not lost. That's the point I want to make. And we need to understand that this is coming from the constitutionalism that we have embraced as a country. And by the way, I think a lot of politicians in the coming week would have learned a lot from the people who are standing up here, in terms of just to campaign and serve themselves. It was quite brilliant. But I've been asked briefly to talk about constitutionalism. And a lot of what is happening here today, this beautiful crowd, multiracial, multi-gender, multi-ethnic, probably multinational as well, is a product of the constitutional dispensation that many people forfeit. And many are starting to take it for granted. Now, the general understanding of constitutions is that they constitute the basic foundational norms, laws, and customs. And modern constitutions are laws in themselves, as well as directives and standards for the making of other laws, policies. Constitutions are said to be the highest norms in the value systems. For example, the Constitution of the United Nations is the Charter of the United Nations. And in South Africa, we say we're living in a constitutional democracy because there is no law above the Constitution. And here you find a lot of things coming from there, such as the structure of government, human rights, independence of national institutions, regulation of the public service, etc., etc. Now, constitutionalism is about fidelity to both the letter of the Constitution and core values and principles upon which the Constitution is based. And the spirit of the Constitution is expressed in, among others, manifest deeds, policies, laws, regulations, and the freedom to do what you just came and did out here. And the freedom to exchange ideas. I had a very interesting time when I was lecturing this. We had very big disputes about academic freedom. About what does it mean to think. At the time, I got into a huge spat about refusing to be controlled how I think. And I don't think anybody should control how you think. Even the fellows, I'm not saying be rude or disruptive or whatever, but I think one of the fundamental tenets of that is freedom of expression, freedom of thought, academic freedom, freedom of religion, that you exercise your rights the way you want. And of course, in the Makwanyana case, Justice Ackerman said, constitutionalism arrives simultaneously with the achievement of equality and freedom, and of openness, accommodation, and tolerance. Now, constitutionalism refers to the rules of law, especially to the Constitution, which is the supreme law in most countries. And secondly, and closely related, formal limitations on political power are regarded by writers all over the world as forming what constitutionalism entails. Now, let me talk about some of the pillars of constitutionalism. There's a whole lot. I'll make the presentation available, but let me talk about some of the pillars of constitutionalism. Now, the first pillar is monitoring compliance with and respect of the rule of law. Now, the Constitution provides the basis for the character of the state that is envisaged for the realization of the constitutional vision of the country, to the extent of dictating that the state must be democratic and uphold the rule of law and operate on the basis of openness, transparency, and accountability, and ethics. And this includes acting in the public interest. And you remember that Sasa Grant's case, the all-pay case, said it was reiterated that the court that the rule of law is the founding value of our constitutional democracy. And the state in all its dealings remains accountable to those on behalf of whom it exercises power. That is why you're voting next week, because that's an accountability mechanism. You vote so that you can actually express your voice as to what sort of government do you want. And from a rule of law perspective, complaint handled by the public protector bolsters the notion that the government is bound by rules and that there can be an independent evaluation of whether there's been compliance with the rules. And government accountability and the right to complain go hand in hand. And of course, South Africa has really taken the right to complain quite seriously, sometimes too seriously. But I think at the same time, we prefer that people come and complain formally and do things the correct way, instead of burning property and so forth. Now, what we encounter as the public protector year on year is really that there is a trust deficit between citizens and the state. People don't trust them. And very often our role is to close that gap. And we sit around the table. Very often, I've held probably, since I took up this role 3.5 years ago, perhaps maybe over 1,000 sittings, possible, with various stakeholders, even taxi drivers, instead of using the normal stereotype that they're violent and so forth, have actually sat around the table to say, this is how we resolve our issues. When people have problems about service delivery, about water, etc., they come to us. What is also not said in the media, again, they like telling things that work for them, especially negativity. What is not said is the impact of the public protector in resolving the ordinary problems of citizens, whether it is their water problems, it is their pensions. Again, of course, the fight against corruption is high at the top of our agenda, but we resolve thousands of matters throughout the year, throughout the country, from province to province. And that's something that is not highlighted. Now, the second pillar of constitutionalism that I speak to, and I alluded to it a bit, is the role of the public protector in limiting undue exercise of public power. Now, the Constitutional Court, in the recent judgment on the presidential upgrades, said that one of the crucial elements of our constitutional vision is to make a decisive break from the unchecked abuse of state power and resources. That was virtually institutionalized during the apartheid era. And it said this is so because constitutionalism, accountability, and the rule of law constitute the sharp and mighty sword that stands ready to chop the ugly head of impunity off its stiff and neck. I'm just about done. 5 minutes to go. Now, the point that has to be made is that state resources belong to the public. Right? You cannot use state resources for private gain or private objectives. And that is very critical. And the third pillar of constitutionalism in our respect is the role of the public protector in protecting and promoting human rights. Now, when making complaints about an alleged violation of human rights, complainants are likely to use a combination of the legal support provided by disability organizations, think tanks like yourselves, etc. And they basically affirm their dignity and their right. So now the point I want to emphasize is that, now what do you then do with what is coming out? I just came through from Gabon. Gabon is higher than us in terms of the Human Development Index. It is higher than us in terms of GDP. I think so is Equatorial Guinea. Per capita, I'm talking about per capita. Those who study economics. But South Africa is a beautiful country with all this infrastructure. What is going wrong? Because they all come here and say, oh, wow, this is a beautiful country. But the economy is leaking. The resources are leaking. Procurement. State procurement is one of the worst challenges we see and face as a public protector. You give someone a tender, they take 3-4 months to build 500 meters of a strip of road. School feeding schemes, charging 40 rand for a loaf of bread. The list goes on and on and on. And I think procurement in particular is one of the biggest risks to this country. Many schools have been built, many houses have been built, which are falling apart. So I'm highlighting some of the problems that we face. Why are some of the other countries doing better? It's clear that, for example, South Africa is not doing the best in maths and science, in spite of being one of the best resources in terms of infrastructure. What is causing it? I ask the fellows who are coming out today to ask yourself some of those serious questions. Don't just say, oh, I'm from South Africa, you know? I'm not from Africa. Nonsense! You are an African. And the continent will fall or rise together. And we are playing our part in that regard. It's important that as the young people are coming out of here today, think about these things. And of course, make this worthwhile. As I said, what I love about the Muslim religion is the respect, compassion, and so forth. And we are also now part of a global village. We need to understand the implications that what we do here affects the rest of the world. Now, I think that's where I'm going to end this, and I just want to again say congratulations, and let's see this amazing project grow. It's an amazing think tank growing to the next level, and on behalf of the entire Office of the Public Protector, I just want to say thank you very much, and God